Hello, dear friend, and welcome. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson, and I am the owner and founder of the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. For over 7 years, we have been honored to bring you messages that inspire, uplift, and support your spiritual journey. These programs are made with love and made possible by you and your generosity. That's why over the next 90 days, we are aiming to raise $9,000 to carry this channel forward into the new year. Every gift, large or small, helps us continue producing, sharing, and reaching souls all around our world. So I invite you today to give as you are able, knowing that your support keeps these messages coming and available to all. Thank you for walking the journey with us, dear friend. Together we are making a difference. We are so grateful. Blessings on the journey, my dear friends.
Welcome to the Experience of the Soul podcast with Cynthia Alice Anderson, a weekly show helping you grow, prosper, and evolve. Today, episode 391, Stress-Free Christmas with special guest Josh Anderson. And now, Experience of the Soul.
Hello and welcome to the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I'm also lovingly known as RCA. I am the owner and founder of the channel, and it is always a pleasure and a blessing, my friends, to have you along the journey with us. And today is a very special day. We have a special guest, but first, let's bring in our producer, Mr. Sean Kilgore.
Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 391 of the Experience of the Soul podcast. Today is Monday, December 15th. We are super excited about today's show. This hasn't happened before, right?
No, it has not.
Okay, so here on episode 391, it's happening for the very first time, and I'm really excited to be here for it. But we'll tell you all about it in just a second. Before we get to it, though, of course, as always, we're moving even closer into the heart of December here, and this week coming up carries a beautiful mix of light and devotion and quiet courage, again, across several traditions. So we're going to give you a couple of touchstones here to guide your reflection as you move through the week, starting with today, Monday, December 15th. Is what is known as Safala Ekadashi. This is in many Hindu communities. Safala Ekadashi is known as the Ekadashi of success. So devotees pray and fast and simplify the day to focus on inner prosperity, peace of mind, emotional stability, and spiritual clarity. So,
beautiful.
Yeah, right. So for the rest of us, this could be a reminder that true success is measured in the state of our hearts, not our calendars.
Amen.
Which sort of harkens back to something that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. I think it was when we talked about how, everyone thinks if you're not busy, if you're not constantly like hustling, that you're not doing life right. And that is not the case, friends.
Right. If I'm not worried, there's something I need to be worried about.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. We don't have to live like that. We can choose something different.
Right.
All right, so all week this week, of course, is Hanukkah. Hanukkah continues. So beginning, of course, the evening of December 14th and continuing through December 22nd, Jewish families around the world celebrate Hanukkah, of course, the Festival of Lights. Each night, another candle is lit to remember the rededication of the temple and the story of oil that lasted beyond what seemed possible. This is a quiet and powerful picture of hope that outlives our expectations. So we want to take a moment to wish everyone who celebrates a very, very happy Hanukkah. Yes. This Sunday, December 21st, is what's known as winter solstice and Yule, and the fourth Sunday of Advent, which is love. So this Sunday is rich with meaning. Astronomically, it is the winter solstice. It's the shortest day and the longest night of the year. So
right. 12/21, right, is what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and in many pagan and earth-based traditions, it's celebrated as Yule, honoring the rebirth of the
Right.
sun and the slow return of light. And in many Christian churches, the same day is also the fourth Sunday of Advent. We've been talking about the Sundays of Advent this whole
Oh, yes.
month. So when the final candle is lit, it's often called the candle of love. And as we draw near Christmas, that is when that candle is lit. So that's this Sunday, the 21st. So last week we paused to recognize joy, and this week we remember that love is the light that keeps burning even in the longest night.
Amen to that, Sean. And I do feel a little bit of a responsibility to tell our listeners, I love Advent. We celebrate Advent, but Advent is not in the Bible. So a lot of times people ask me where we get the tradition. Of course, it comes from the Catholic Church, and it is the 40 days minus the Sundays leading up to Christmas. And so anyway, it's a very special time and we love it. But I do feel, I must say, that it's an invention of the church, but a good one because of how it focuses our energy, how it focuses our minds on what is important. And those aspects, that we light that candle for each week are certainly super important aspects, of the spiritual journey, and wonderful to lift up, as we've been saying, for humanity. Because if we just lived by the four pillars of Advent, life would be working better for all of us right now.
Amen.
Yeah. So it's a divine idea, even though it's not. Yeah, there was no Advent in the Bible. Yeah.
Yeah. It's another thing, keep it with, the challenge should be to keep that with us, all year long. All year long. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. Finally, just for fun, this Friday, December 19th. And now I didn't have really an ugly sweater to wear, but it is National Ugly Sweater Day this Friday, December 19th. So I wore this handsome Christmas sweater, but I was going to text you and tell you if you had an ugly Christmas sweater to wear it tonight. I have a t-shirt that looks like an ugly Christmas sweater, but it's not the same. But anyway, so yes, this Friday, December 19th is National Ugly Christmas Sweater Day, celebrated the third Friday of December. This is a playful invitation to show up a little less polished and a little more joyful, because sometimes spiritual practice looks like laughter and silliness and not taking ourselves so seriously.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. That's awesome, Sean. I love that one. I love all the fun ones because
me too.
It does bring lightness to the process. We're so often talking about soul work and growth and, doing the hard stuff. It's like, let's celebrate National Sandwich Day. That was one time, or National Go for a Ride Day. I liked also I love the National Call a Friend Day, which is that one coming up? I think it is.
I think it is coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was coming up. So I love all these lighthearted ones that we're doing. It's all great reminders to be able to laugh at ourselves at times and enjoy each other's company and the journey itself. So yeah,
definitely. All right. And I'm going to leave you with something to think about as you move into your week and as we move into this week's episode. As the nights reach their longest and the candles across many faiths burn their brightest, what are you being called to let love be the light that leads you forward? Where are you being called to let love be the light that leads you forward?
Amen, my friend. Yeah. Love it.
And with that, welcome officially episode 391. This episode is titled Stress-Free Christmas, and I'm going to sit back and enjoy it with the rest of you. So here we go.
All right. Well, let's bring in our special guest, Mr. Joshua Anderson. Whoa.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Me too, Josh. It was really fun.
Yeah, I've been at a lot of the recordings of this podcast over the years, but I've never been part of one of the recordings. So it should be a lot of fun. And I was thinking actually probably we started this tradition that we're talking about today close to around the time that you started the podcast, probably.
I think that's exactly right. Yeah, baby. I think that's exactly right. And, because I think we were feeling the push, I think you were really busy in school and, we both had a lot going on. And, for all of us, Christmas is a time of like overspending. And, I think I even shared with you, we had some friends that, had said to us, as a couple, we don't go into debt for Christmas. And I said, oh, let's talk about that on the show. And then I started thinking, are there things we're doing at the holiday that we're, thinking that are obligations, just obligatory to show up, and that we think we have to do because there's so much, cultural pressure to the consumerism, the commercialism of it all. And I think we were thinking, we just want to have a tree. We just want to, because at our house, we've never had, it's never been like you have to get 25 brand new things, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And I think you're right. It was about the start of the show when, it was just you and I, and we were noticing that maybe we were being a little shorter with each other than we wanted to be, or what, or maybe it was just me, but, that there was just too much stress, in other words.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it is learned family dynamics too. Like, year after year of, like you said, all these obligations, like the institution of the Christmas party or whatever, and, entertaining people, and then making it, trying to keep up appearances as well, I feel like is always big around the holiday season. And very unnecessary, because it really should just be about what's good for you and your family instead of what looks good to everyone else.
Yes. You're absolutely right. And we've had friends and family members, who, we felt were making it difficult. And there was, I was trying to, I can't remember even the exact instance that brought it up, but I'm like, what if this could be easy and fun again? And we could just have a stress-free Christmas. And you looked at me and go, I love that idea.
No, that's exactly how it went. Yeah.
Is that how it went? Because,
I think so, just about.
Well, so as a parent, one of the things is you want it to be good for your kids. You want, right? But the things we think that make it good sometimes are, as Charles Fillmore would say, erroneous. Like they are imagined. Our friend Martha Creek calls it over-importancing, that we've made it so over-important that we put the emphasis, in the wrong spot. That it should be about, in my view, the celebration of the Christ. It should be about family and remembering our spiritual nature and giving time and energy to that.
And love, most of all, I think.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think too, like you said, I think resisting the cultural pressure of having to have everything perfect. And, like now there's a whole, what would you call Pinterest, a social media network where people go on and they look at pictures and they think their house has to look like all those pictures. And if their house doesn't look like all those little pictures, there's a problem and there's a stress and there's somebody to blame. And that was the other thing. I would even notice that in churches, that things would get so ramped up. If the candles weren't perfect, somebody would be having a meltdown. And I'm like, this is really not, what this is supposed to be about. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not about perfection by any means.
Yeah. Well, and in Unity, of course, when we talk about this, we will be talking about this, I should say, in later shows this month. But, in Unity, we talk about the birth of the Christ, and we celebrate that as, I often say, the most important event in history. We're still talking about it over 2,000 years later, but we're also trying to embody, that Christ energy. And I know how strongly you feel about that from some of the Youth of Unity work you were doing, Josh, with, trying to get people to understand this, not only this Christ energy that we possess it, but this like oneness consciousness. And I think if we're about oneness consciousness and the Christ energy, stress should not even be a factor in how we're showing up.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, like you say, I think there's so many religions and people who see the Christ as this separate entity that should be worshipped separately. And that's not necessarily a wrong way of looking at it by any means.
Right.
If that's what you believe, that's wonderful. More power to you. But I think there's something to be said for sure about not even just seeing the Christ within, like we do all the time in Unity, but seeing Christ as me, right? Not only Christ in me, but Christ as me, and breaking down that barrier of separation that's still there when we say that Christ is in me.
It is,
right? Because
to a degree. Mm-hmm. Well, and I just think not everybody is there yet as me. Some Christians hear that and call it sacrilege. And I hear that and say, this is exactly what Jesus was saying, though. He said, no, quit looking at me. You are the light of the world. You can do this. And there's a passage of scripture where it says, Jesus sent out the 70. In other words, he was saying, you've got the light that you need, go do it. Quit worshiping me. I mean, I don't see a place in the Bible. I'd love for somebody to show it to me who's listening, where Jesus says, I want you to fall down and worship me every time you see me. It's not there. It's not there. Jesus said, I came that you might have life and have it more abundantly. Right. That's one of my favorite scriptures, as you know. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good point. Yeah. You are the light of the world, right? Not the light of the world is in you. You are it. That's right. Already.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And so like when we think of the world today, it's like, if we could, so for some people, Josh, we're saying this too. And I know our, because Josh is my son, I forget y'all are listening, but we talk about these things. This is not unusual, but, for some of our listeners, they might be saying, well, that's easy for you to say. I don't even know how to do stress-free Christmas, So we're talking about these high ideas of Christ as me. And they're saying, listen, I've got cakes to bake. I've got a house to clean, and I've got a family obligation. And I think, one of the reasons, we're talking about it is I think we learn a little bit better every year how to do it, so you have to kind of start thinking in a different way, not what do we have to do? And it has to be the same as last year. And we got to put up every single thing we did, and we got to do these lights, and the tree has to be perfect. And that has to go on the top, can't go on the bottom. If it goes on the bottom, that's wrong. I've been told that before. No, that is in the wrong spot on the tree, So, and to me, that's just ridiculous, And so I just wanted to say to our listeners, I'm not saying that, this year you're not going to have any stress. I'm saying that this idea, and I don't know if you remember us doing this, but what I remember us doing the very first year is we'd start to get ramped up. Like maybe you had a concert and I had something at church, and we were like, how are we going to get it done? And one of us would go, wait, it can be stress-free. So how do we make it stress-free? So we were like learning as we went, how do we do this differently, this year? That's my memory of it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it really starts with making a commitment to each other, for sure. Like you need everyone to be all in on a stress-free Christmas, for sure.
That's an important point. Yes.
Yeah. And
if not everybody's in agreement, you can't do it. Right.
Right.
In the house. Also, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. And that's the only way you can have somebody calling it out like that, let's just make it stress-free like we were doing. It takes everybody to be in it from the beginning, for sure. Yeah. So I think it's important to have that conversation with everyone, because on your own, you can't make it stress-free, because somebody will get stressed out if you don't talk about it first.
Yeah, right. Well, and Josh, I don't think I got a chance to say this, but I just had a meeting with Martha Creek, and sorry, can you guys hear my dog barking in the background? Sorry about that. And I had a meeting with Martha Creek, and at the end of the meeting, at the beginning of the meeting, and she ended the prayer after she said, amen. And then she said, I'm in. And I said, I like that. I'm in. Yeah. I said, I'm in. And the board said, we're in, and that's what you're saying. There has to be agreement. I think that's such an important point. There has to be an agreement for stress-free Christmas in the house, because it creates another dysfunctional dynamic if one person is trying to do it and everybody else is pulling on their energy. That's not going to work either.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And so, friends, if you were in church, I'd say, number one, we must be in agreement and in alignment with this idea. And if it's not stress-free, there might be another idea your house thinks of I've never thought of. Like maybe there's another way to say it. But for me, that idea, and it seemed like it worked for you too. I'd want to, know that I just felt like we got to breathe when we said that. It wasn't like there was zero stress. It was like there was a lot less.
Yeah. I think it's a good affirmation just to call out at any time, stress-free Christmas.
I do too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know one of the ways we worked with it, and we'd been doing it 2 or 3 years probably by the time this happened, but we, between your concert schedule, my church schedule, and you going back and forth between houses, there's always a lot going on. And we were stressing out because we had not gotten a tree. And I said, Josh, you know what? I don't know when we're going to get a tree. And then I said, you know what? Let's look at this little plant out here on the back porch. And it was a big potted plant, but it's what's called a Norfolk Island pine. And I said, it might be a Charlie Brown Christmas. And you go, well, I happen to love, or something like that. Yeah, I think you said, well, that's funny because I happen to love Charlie Brown Christmas.
Oh, yeah. No, I was going to bring that up if you didn't.
Oh,
that's
you were?
Great. Yeah. So then we just had that little tree and it worked out great. We put little ornaments on it and we didn't have to go through all the hassle of getting everything out. And it was really cute. We just stacked all the gifts up by the pot.
Yeah, right. And then at night, this was really sweet too. Sometimes we'd turn off the lights and go out there at night. It was real sweet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just that real gentle energy. And I love that at Christmas to just be able to look at a tree with just the lights on, and all the other lights out. And it for me, it was even more special that it was outside because we had there were the night sounds and it harkened back to a more simple time in our history. So, yeah, that was super, super special.
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to think of other stress-free Christmas memories over the years. I don't know.
Well, even this year, do you remember we were thinking about getting a tree and it was too busy because you were just home for Thanksgiving. And then we had that the big grocery shopping.
Yep. And we almost got a little itty bitty tree, but it worked out to just not
it was like,
get one this year.
It's really okay. It's really okay.
We don't need to stress free.
That's right. And I have zero regret about stress free.
Me neither.
Yeah. No regret about stress free. As a matter of fact, it makes me kind of proud that we were able to do it.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what else would you say is vital in bringing together a stress-free Christmas?
I think one thing is not overspending.
Yeah.
A lot of people feel that they have to, spend a lot of money to make somebody feel loved and special. Mm-hmm. And, when I was growing up, one of the things we did is we made a lot of our gifts, which might sound stressful, but for us, it was fun. But we started in October. So you would be thinking further ahead and you would be considering the person and what they loved. And so something simple like making candles or something simple like, creating a beautiful arrangement for someone, which you can do with found items. So I think not overspending in today's, terminology is really one of the easiest ways to reduce stress because it can't be a time of giving and peace and joy if you're overextending to the point that you're scared to open the credit card in January, which happens. I've had people tell me they've spent $10,000 or more at Christmas.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And I would say also then when you don't let the money come first, the gifts are often way more heartfelt and from the heart.
Yes, that's what I was thinking too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember we've done stuff like that some years as well.
We have.
Right? I remember, I think was it you painted a bunch of little wooden ornaments? Was that?
Oh yes, I painted a bunch of wooden
ornaments. Some people.
Yes, and do you remember some of those wooden matchboxes I did also?
Yes.
Those were
beautiful.
so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah, and I'm not a painter, right? But it was fun to think about the person and do. Yeah, and those ornaments were fun, and people really loved. I mean, they said they loved getting them. I don't know.
yeah, I think we gave some to all of our family, right?
Yes, we did.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was great, and it was another fun thing to do together as well. It's a memory,
Yes.
not just a gift.
Well, you remember we also did some other ornaments. They turned out kind of funny. I think we'd
Yeah.
gotten those clear ones, and I got all those cotton ball.
Oh, yeah,
those little.
that's what I was
What do you call
thinking
those
of.
little things, like little pom pom things? And you put them down
Oh,
in there.
yeah.
So they were kind
Yeah.
of cheesy, but you know what? They were pretty special, and we still have them. So
Oh, that was great. Yeah, we filled them up with glitter
and all that. Yeah, that was
a lot of fun.
It was. Well, and the other thing, and Josh, I don't know if you know that I did this, but when I was trying to minimize a lot of errands, like if I would have limited time, I would take three deep breaths, or I'd do that 5-minute meditation I do, and I would say, God, tell me which store to go get a gift for Joshua. This is what I'm thinking. And I would just talk to God in like a conversation. I would get the idea, and I would drive there, and I would pick it up, and it would be 5 minutes in and out. And if I wouldn't do that, I felt like I ran to 3 or 4 stores. I never got what I wanted and needed, And so just like bringing my spiritual journey at the forefront of the equation of Christmas, instead of it being about all the outer stuff, saying, God, what matters most? Guide me to the right place. And sometimes I would get a weird idea, like go to the grocery store. It'd be like, the grocery store. And then I'd walk in and be like, that's it. That's what I wanted to get him, or that's what I wanted to get, for my sister. It'd be right there,
Right.
And so really trusting your intuition, working with God on guidance, like to guide you to the right thing, or to, bring into your awareness something you want to get people. And for me, that was a lot of fun, because I felt like God was really activated in my process and interested in my little decisions. And I believe God is, because God is in us, within us, as we, love to say. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And I think that even that little act of centering, even if it's just like 3 deep breaths,
I agree.
also really helps keep everything stress-free. I think that's always a good thing to do. I think if you're starting to get worked up, just you can tell the people around you, let's take a few deep breaths.
That happened earlier today. I got a little elevated, and I had to take 3 deep breaths and go do a workout, and all is right with the world.
Yeah, it works great.
Yeah. And I think too, one of the things I try to do almost every year is, every year that I can remember, I just don't want to sound like I'm trying to be perfect, because I'm definitely not that. Is every year I try to take a part of the story and either, think about that energy, like the energy of Mary, the energy of Joseph, or, and we're going to talk about that in later shows, especially next week. We're going to talk more about that on the show, but about how am I, really embodying the Christ energy in a new way this year, and really look to expand my own awareness of my own Christhood, like Christ in me, through me, as me. How am I bringing that in a real way into the world? And as I said at the very beginning, when we're seeking God's guidance at that level, stress kind of goes out, because you're really more working with what is the higher vibrational reality I want to live from than what does anybody think. It just becomes so much about the joy, the beingness, the peace, the like you said, the love, the the experience of connection throughout the holiday.
Right. You keep it about you and your loved ones and your energy circle, instead of about everyone outside.
Yes, it basically is like my sacred attention and intention are centered on Christ. And not, even though I enjoy the outer, and I think it's a lot of fun, like, one of the things I love to do with you and people I love is do in Orlando, there's a Lake Eola, that light. I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, around Lake Eola, there's all the lights. And I just love going, because you can walk, and it just feels like something you would do if you were very rich, that you would have to buy tickets for it. And you can take pictures, and it's very magical. And there's kids and grandparents and dogs. And I mean, and to me, it always just feels like Christmas, and all it is a 1 mile stroll around Lake Eola, but it feels very magical. And for me, that's important too, because I enjoy the symbolism. I love the lights. I love the stars. I love the trees and the music. And so sometimes just like a sacred activity where rushing is actually contrary to the experience. It's like, let's just be present and just feel this. I think that's so important.
Definitely. And that's a great example of another low cost thing that you can do together that is more than just a gift. It's a memory, you know. And another thing we love to do is drive around and look at lights at night at houses around the neighborhood. That's another fun thing to do.
Ooh, that is fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also fun to... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you've been doing that since you were a kid, right?
Yes. We did that as kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing that we did, as kids, which if I've talked about on the show, it's been a long time. Every Christmas Eve, my mom would read out of the family Bible, and we would do it with a candle by candlelight. And then we would walk up to bed holding these little candles that look like something out of a Dickens novel. We'd hold those little candles and we'd walk up the stairs. And then when we went to bed, we'd blow the candle out. Mom would say, when you wake up, Santa will come, but it was all about, honoring the birth of the Christ. And it didn't matter if we had service at church, we had already read that scripture before bed, and all of our jammies. I have this red and white striped jammies. It was just, I loved that. They were fun. We would read that Bible as a family and have that special experience. And, in Georgia, the family Bible is of utmost importance. So it was a very, very special time for sure.
Right. Yeah. That's really beautiful, Mom.
Yeah, it is. Well, we've done it, but we did that more, I think, when you were younger. As you got older, we were often performing very late and would just, have a beautiful evening, and then just Christmas morning, because we had celebrated so much and so much reading at church. But and that is one of the things I love to do too, is try to provide a Christmas service that's not about show, which a lot of people do, and that's fine, because there is a time for, big and fun and majestic. But I feel like Christmas is about, humility and surrender. And it's the only way the Christ is born, in a humble place at a humble time to a troubled people at a troubled time. So I always try to make moments, that are sacred and full of reflection and simplicity, because I believe that's what the scriptures really teach about the birth of the Christ. So that's always been fun for me, because when you get all those big performances, you start being worried about everything being perfect and everybody wearing the right clothes and everybody looking the right way. And I think that's the opposite of what the Christ is here to bring. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
So my friends, we thank you for joining us, and I hope you've enjoyed hearing Josh a little bit on the show. I've loved having him on. Fun for me to have my son on after he's heard so many recordings, like you said, when he was really little. Do you remember when you played video games one time? Before, maybe before and during, when we were recording at Dave's. Yep. Yeah. So it's fun.
Great. That was a lot of fun.
It was. It's fun now that you're an adult and at college that you can be on the show. Any other thoughts before we begin to sign off? I wanted to say one other thing to our listeners, but anything else you want to add?
I don't think so, but thank you for having me. This was really, really a great time. I'm happy to be here.
It was, Josh. Thank you. And so, my friends, as you go throughout your holiday, see if you can take a little stress out of the holiday. See if you can have a new affirmation about moving out of stress and into the attention and intention of living the Christ in the world, knowing your Christhood, living that Christhood all the way out loud, my friends. Just honoring the gift of the Christ. That is love, as Josh said. That is peace. That is joy. That is all good for all humanity. So, my friends, we wish you the best, and feel free to send us a text. Let us know how you're going to put this idea of stress-free Christmas into practice. And of course, it could be stress-free Hanukkah as well, and whatever else you might celebrate. So if you celebrate another tradition, please feel free to let us know. And of course, later in the month, we also celebrate Kwanzaa. So friends, we honor all paths to God, and we thank you for being along the journey with us. Our hope is that you have a season full of love, joy, peace, and all good, and definitely no stress. So my friends, thank you for your support. Blessings on the journey, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Experience of the Soul podcast with Cynthia Alice Anderson, helping you grow, prosper, and evolve. This podcast is made possible because of listeners and viewers just like you. If you would like to support this podcast with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head on over to cynthiaaliceanderson.com/donate. The Experience of the Soul podcast is copyright 2025 Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved, and is produced by Sean Kilgore. A production of the Soulworks Group, Incorporated. You're listening to the Experience of the Soul podcast channel, bringing you inspiration, teachings, and practices to support your spiritual journey.